It's starting to feel like resolutions are coming for the Chicago Bulls. Not only is the draft only 10 days away, but it feels like the Chicago Bulls are approaching closely to making their head coaching decision. That one comes from Brian Windhorst that the Bulls could be in position out of all the teams left to fill their head coaching vacancies to fill it sooner rather than later. So we're going to talk about that. Plus, with the Giannis trade talk popping around, we're going to talk about how the Chicago Bulls can get involved in the Giannis trade, not to get Giannis, but to play the third team and get some extra draft picks. We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to continue our draft pairings conversation, and we're going to go crazy with it today. We're going to talk about the potential draft pairing for the Bulls of Darryn Peterson and Morez Johnson. We're going to talk about all that, plus dive into the mailbag and hear your voicemails right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And is the Bulls head coaching decision coming soon? According to Brian Windhorst, Chicago may act before Portland and Dallas in hiring their next head coach, which I think is going to do wonders for a lot of Bulls fans that are complaining and worried about the Bulls dragging their feet and missing out on more candidates and things like that. So it seems like that is what's going to happen here. Of course, we already know the Bulls finalists reportedly are Tiago Splitter, Micah Nori, and Ryan Schmidt. And even though Wes Unseld Jr.'s name keeps being mentioned, it seems like he's most likely to stay on, if he does, as the assistant under the new head coach, which, if according to this list, is going to be a first-time NBA head coach at least. And so you may want to have those veterans on the bench, which is really good in regards to that. So when you look at it, we already know Tiago Splitter is already coming town. He's had his in-person interview as well for that one. He's had success with the young roster. He had a playoff berth in Portland, and he has a career of player development all over the place. And something that I didn't realize that somebody pointed out is Tiago Splitter, worked with Alfred Şengün as well over in the Houston Rockets and helped him get to become an all-star. I didn't even know that part of it. So, if those things are to be believed, then hey, Tiago Splitter and his history of development and then proof of concept with what he did with the Portland Trail Blazers roster, looks like some things could be brewing there. Micah Nori, of course, his case is the culture building, the track record of development that he's had almost at every stop he's been in the NBA over 20 years. I keep comparing him to Tibbs. They're very similar as far as their career trajectories as well, and I think that makes a lot of sense for the Chicago Bulls also. So all these things make sense, and it seems like that. Now, Ryan Schmidt is the guy that would be the most outside the box, at least on paper, right? Of course, the Bryson Graham connection from Atlanta is there, but he also has a developmental background. And I'm going to say this, don't completely count out Ryan Schmidt to get this job, right? And the reason why I say this is that he is the dark horse in this race, but, sometimes Bryson Graham has an eye for talent, and that eye for talent has been in the front office with coaches and on the court, of course. If Bryson Graham noticed something with Ryan Schmidt that he feels like Ryan Schmidt can eventually become a really good head coach, and he wants to give him that job early and feels like, hey, come build with us. We can build together. I know you can be a great head coach. Do not overlook that. I think that Ryan Schmidt, for a lot of Bulls fans in the conversation, has kind of become like, he's the unknown commodity because he's the one that doesn't have the proven track record. Micah Nori's proven because of what he's done in the NBA over 20-plus years. Tiago Splitter's proven because of, even if people don't know what he did over in Europe or for other teams, like I didn't know about the Alfred thing, but, Tiago proved it with Portland last year. So they're more proven commodities for a lot of kind of the more casual fans, but do not count out Ryan Schmidt to get this job. And like I said before, and I know when I say this, it's triggering for some fans, and I understand it. It's not the thing that, feels the best to hear. But it's not the front office's job to hire the person that Bulls fans want. It's not the front office's job to hire the player that Bulls fans want. It's the front office's job to hire the right coach, to draft the right players, to sign the right players, and then they prove that, right? And if Ryan Schmidt ends up being the right guy, and 2 years from now we're talking about Ryan Schmidt, getting the job and flourishing, we'll look back on it and say, damn, and we thought he could not work. But Bryson Graham just has to make sure he gets the right guy. yes, we're going to question it. Don't try to win the press conference. Don't try to win the social media reaction. Do the thing that's going to get us wins on the court. And as long as Ryan Schmidt's doing that, me and many Bulls fans should just, not to say that we aren't going to question and be like, hey, is this the right thing? But give it an opportunity to show us, to show and prove, right? And if it ends up not working, then it's not working. But I already know there's a large part of the Bulls fan base and community. If Ryan Schmidt's the guy that ends up hiring, they're going to lose faith in Bryson Graham immediately. Now, Wes Unseld, we can say the same thing. But, I actually kind of agree with that one. So we're going to see what happens. I think at this point, it seems like we are maybe likely to get a decision made early next week. I probably would say, just a prediction, it probably is not going to go later than Wednesday of next week. But let's see what happens. I know a lot of Bulls fans are dying and ready to get this coaching hire done, and I can't blame you. But let's move on. I want to talk a little bit about the Bulls possibly getting involved in the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade. Now, this initially was talked about as like the Miami Heat were the front runner. Now we're hearing that teams like Portland and Boston can get involved in a 3-team trade. Even Minnesota can get involved in a 3-team trade. With Giannis's massive salary, it means that likely multiple parts are moving in the trade. And we've seen this happen before. Hell, we've been on the opposite end of this before. When other teams do not want to take on the bad contracts in the trade, then a third team can slide in there and get the first round pick. For example, the San Antonio Spurs got the first round pick in the DeMar DeRozan signing trade because they took back Harrison Barnes and we didn't want to do that, right? So, you look at that. So when you look at some of the potential contracts that could be moved as part of this Giannis trade that other teams may not want, Miles Turner is one, Kyle Kuzma is another one, and Jeremy Grant. Those are players that look like that. And I think when you look at it, you can get another young player. You can get draft capital. You can move up from 15 to 13 just by taking on the bad salary in a deal and helping facilitate a trade. And that's what Bryson Graham should be exploring. That's what the Bulls should be exploring in this, is low impact moves that get you potential high impact for just taking back some bad salaries. And that's where the Bulls sit with this right now, right? So I think that if Miami, Portland, these teams are trying to create that angle, the Bulls should be right there involved in trying to be the third team in some of these trades. Now, are they going to be successful in doing so? We'll see. It's a yes or no. I mean, it's a possibility in it, right? We don't need to be in the Giannis sweepstakes. And I know Bulls fans want a segment of Bulls fans still want the Bulls to trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo, but I'm more interested in what can we get back and what can we do if we were to help facilitate and make that trade, make the rebuild easier on the Milwaukee Bucks. Kyle Kuzma and Miles Turner aren't necessarily players that I want on this team. I will say Kyle Kuzma has 1 year left of $20 million. Sit his ass on the bench, don't play him, and tell him, hey, shout out to you, young fella. Or Miles Turner. Miles Turner has a lot more long-term money. He has 3 years left on his deal, with that last year being a player option. But I will say this, the Bulls don't have a starting caliber center right now. And not to say that I want Miles Turner to be the center of the future, but if the Milwaukee Bucks said, hey, listen, we're trading Giannis, we don't need Miles anymore. We brought Miles in here so he can pair with Giannis, and that's not a factor anymore. We're already paying this dead money on Dame Lillard's contract. Let's move off of this and get some cap relief. I'm not necessarily against. I mean, it's $26 million, $27 and $29 million. Not to say that that's any type of light money, but when you look at some of the bad contracts around the NBA that are 35 plus million, this isn't necessarily we've been talking about taking on Jimmy's contract to get an extra pick. Like it's like the first 2 years of Miles Turner's contract is almost expensive as 1 year of Jimmy Butler's contract. So I'd be interested in it. And I would love to see how Bryson Graham feels about that, right? Like, could he be somebody that's willing to take, of course, the Kuzma contract, because it's 1 year, it's easier. But, we always talk about how you maintain cap space. 3 years of Miles Turner would then put you 1 year after Miles Buzelis' extension, and right around the same time Josh Giddey's contract ends. So therefore you have a lot of cap space again, where in 3 years that gives, Cam Boozer or Caleb Wilson or whoever we draft, gives you 3 years of development for those guys. And then, you have an opportunity to see what you need to add in free agency at that point. So it's a risk. I'm not saying that it's like something that's just a home run hit out the park immediately, but I think it's a risk that the Bulls would be worth to just sniff around in and see if they can get involved as the third team in one of those moves and take on one of those bad contracts. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. Would you want to see the Chicago Bulls get involved in that and see what happens there? But let's continue our draft pairings, right? I listen, I only am covering this because a lot of you guys have been asking. There have been some rumblings on it, very slight, not a lot. But you guys have been asking about Darryn Peterson falling to the Chicago Bulls. And I figured, why not work it in? This pairing things is to have fun. One thing I'll say this, as a content creator, I think that sometimes we can get so caught up in, not wanting to look wrong, right? And sometimes it's just about having fun, right? So I'm going to have some fun with it. What if the Bulls drafted Darryn Peterson at number 4 and Morez Johnson at number 15? And I want to talk about what those pairings could potentially bring to the Chicago Bulls. But first, of course, we got to talk about why in the realistic ways that Darryn Peterson could fall to number 4 for the Chicago Bulls. And I'll say this, it wouldn't be we're not saying that he's falling like out of the top 4, right? Like, we've seen players fall before. One of those guys are going to fall. And Darryn Peterson, with his injury concerns, is real. So let's talk about the path of Darryn Peterson falling. At number 1, Washington goes A.J. Debonsa because he's two-way scoring, one of the highest upsides in the draft. A lot of buzz around them taking him. So Washington goes A.J. Debonsa at number 1. We're in the realm of reality. Let's go Utah at number 2, right? This is going to be interesting because SB Nation described Utah as a strong fit for Darryn Peterson, and they are, right? I want to be clear, they are. But let's say that Utah, because we have heard some stuff too, especially with Carlos Boozer being like a scout for them or something, that they could prioritize the side and the multiple skill set that Cam Boozer has. Let's say that they do go Cam Boozer mainly because they plan on moving Lauri Markkanen, and then they look at it Cam Boozer and Walker Kessler as a better fit in that front court. And I tell you what, it is there. There is some realistic stuff there that Cam Boozer and Walker Kessler, if they plan on re-signing Walker Kessler, offer more balance. Like Cam Boozer, also a 3-point shooter. He's better defensively than Lauri Markkanen as well. So for this, let's say Cam Boozer goes number 2 to Utah. Then you get at number 3 to Memphis. And would Memphis go Caleb Wilson over Darryn Peterson? Now, there's most than likely if Darryn Peterson falls to number 3, they're going to take him, right? But if for a team that's moving away from a high usage guard, they just drafted Cedric Howard, who does not have the projected ceiling of a Darryn Peterson, but let's say that they feel like they can find a different type of guard to match him. And if they trade John Morant and get a different pick and they pick a point guard later in that pick and they prioritize size with Caleb Wilson, that then puts you in a scenario where Darryn Peterson could fall to the Bulls at number 4. Is this the most likely scenario? No, but it is one that is in the realm of possibility. And I think what I just laid out is realistic. It could happen in some form of the multiverse. That could be how the draft night falls. So then let's talk about why would Bryson Graham go Darryn Peterson? Because he fits what Bryson likes to grab. I'm not even just talking about slap. You look at what the Bulls have lacked for so long. They have lacked somebody who can go out there and get a bucket. What is Darryn Peterson? He's a guy who can go out there and get a bucket, right? He does bring athleticism. He does bring length at his position. He does bring that pit bull mentality on the defensive end sometimes when he's locked in, right? And so when you look at it, like Peterson, 6'6", listed as ESPN, 205 pounds, averaged 20 points per game, 4 rebounds, 1.6 assists. A guy that has that makeup of Darryn Peterson that can create offense, score at all 3 levels, and actually gives a damn about the defensive side of the ball. Now, some people are going to say, well, Haize, there are some questions on his availability, and you're legitimate with that, right? But I think the argument for Peterson is this. He gives the Bulls one of the things that we need most in this draft, and that is a primary scorer. Darryn Peterson can be that immediately. Josh Giddey is a connector that can do some scoring. Darryn Peterson is a scorer. Buzelis is developing as a scorer, but you want him to be a two-way wing. Darryn Peterson is a scorer, and they can fit there together as well. Then let's talk about the Morez Johnson at number 15. Why would Morez Johnson fit Bryson Graham's draft philosophy and what the Bulls need? 6'9", 250 pounds. He averaged 13 points, 7 rebounds. He shot 62% from the field as well. And the thing that I've said with all these Michigan players that you have to stand out and look at is that with Morez, Ademara, and Yaxel Lindenberg, they all ate into each other's stats because they played as a team, right? And so Morez Johnson's rebounding rate projects for a player that can average 10 to 12 rebounds per game, could be, right? And there's 1.1 blocks per game. That could easily be 1.5 to 2 blocks per game if he wasn't playing with Yaxel and with the Ademara. I think that Morez Johnson brings tons of upside to this team. He brings potentially physicality that the Bulls have lacked for a long time. The defensive toughness, the setting hard screens, his ability to rim run as well, and he brings that switchable big man defense that becomes so important. So I think if you look at it if you get Darryn Peterson, he becomes your offensive creator. Morez Johnson becomes your defensive tone setter for a young core. He's somebody that can do the dirty work with the young core. The pairing of Peterson and Morez works because it's two completely different positions and player types that the Bulls both need. Peterson brings on-ball star-level creation. Morez Johnson brings physical identity. This is a very strong use of the 4 and 15 pick. Darryn Peterson, of course, high ceiling. I think that Darryn Peterson has the ceiling to be one of the best scorers in the NBA, and that's perfectly great. When you look at what this Bulls team was missing post-deadline, they were missing somebody that can go out there and get a bucket. Could Darryn Peterson and Josh Giddey work as a backcourt? There's some questions in regards to that, but I think that Josh Giddey and his natural facilitating would work in that case like that, and Peterson can also do some facilitating as well. I think both these guys fit with Modest Buzelis. I think Noah Essengate fits with that as well if you continue developing Noah Essengate in those parts of it. So I think that it gives the Bulls a nice potential of spacing, identity, all that type of stuff that the Chicago Bulls need, right? It benefits them. It solves the who goes out and gets a bucket. We need shot creators. We need somebody who can get a bucket in tough times that gets that. It keeps the Bulls from becoming guard heavy while adding defense and keeping us from being soft. It also helps Giddey and Modest, like I just said, and it gives us two different archetypes that we can build with and develop going forward. The concerns with it, right, is that Morez at number 15, we'll see. Like ESPN had them at number 27 on their draft board, but then he's risen up draft board. So take that for what you will. Darryn Peterson, there is concerns with his availability, and that's just real. There are concerns with that. And then also I'd say this. I don't know how much spacing Morez brings, so again, that kind of fits you into what you need else on your roster. But I say this. If Darryn Peterson falls to the Bulls at number 4, they are extremely lucky. Run to the podium, get your pick, and move on. Pairing it with Morez Johnson will make this draft class feel like a very balanced and sensible draft class. So I say this. It's an upside swing. It's a high floor swing as well, and it's a swing that could actually get the Chicago Bulls to the place that we all want them to get to. But let me know what you guys think on that pairing down below and how you guys feel in regards to that one. Let's go ahead and get into these voicemails that we got for today, man. We got only 3 today. This one's from Jeremy.
Hey, what's up, Haize? It's your boy Jeremy down here in Oklahoma. It's been a minute, but, losing Stacey King, I had to make a call. That hurts. I'm a lifelong Bulls fan, 50 years. OU Sooners fan. I remember when we drafted Stacey, it's just hard to put it all in perspective. My oldest son's 21 years old, and he's known Stacey King calling Bulls games since he was 3. And it's just a big blow. Yeah, I mean, he is Chicago. But, I just want to let all you guys know that he was a legend here in Oklahoma, too. And he's been getting a lot of respect, a lot of the memorials and that kind of thing on the news. So he was loved here. He's up there with Wayman Tisdale as far as an OU Sooner great. The Bulls drafted him number 6. It's rough. So, thoughts with his family. Hopefully, we go out there and, put it on the court this year and let Stacey go out on a good note. So, see Red. Peace out.
I mean, yeah, rest in peace, Stacey King. I mean, I can't say enough. Much like you, my oldest son is 20. He just turned 20 in April. And basically his whole life has been Stacey King calling the Chicago Bulls. His whole entire life, it's been Stacey King's voice that has been the voice of the Chicago Bulls. And so, we're all going to miss Stacey. There is no replacing Stacey, whoever the Bulls do. And, I don't want to talk about this piece yet in depth, but, the Bulls are going to have to find a new commentary guy. And whoever's coming into that is stepping into some huge shoes, but they have to make it their own. Nobody can live up to what Stacey King is and was for this Bulls community and this franchise and fan base. And I don't want to see anybody try to do that. I want to see nobody come in and be like, I got to make nicknames. No, do your own thing. That's what made Stacey so special, is that he did it his way, right? And I do think the Bulls should honor Stacey in a way, whether that's, put up a banner with his face on it, as a player when he was younger and as a commentator. I don't think they're going to retire his jersey, but this is a Ring of Honor year. And I do think they're going to do something big to honor Stacey King, and it's well-deserved if they do. All right, let's move on to the next one, man. This one's from Vikram.
What's up, Haize? It's Vikram. I was watching your lockdown video, your Friday one, about the 5 ways that the Bulls could trade up. And when you when you first started by bringing up the Clippers, it kind of got me really excited, because I've been thinking about this interesting idea, because like when I saw those reports, like obviously I get super excited because I want to see Keen Wagler and Wagler and Caleb Wilson on my team. That would be insane. Next to Morez, dude, that's insane. So the only real way I can see the Clippers, two ways that I can see the Clippers trading bats and 5 for all the way to 15 is if we give 2 future firsts at the minimum, in addition to 15, or we help the Clippers get control of their future. I think the Nets kind of did that recently with the Rockets, like 2 years ago, kind of getting the future 2025 and 2026 picks, and it did. In return, they got like they gave up a very valuable set of picks. I think it was the Suns pick. So along those lines, the Clippers would give up a very valuable 5th pick in return. Like the two teams that we would be like helping the Clippers do this with are the Thunder and the Sixers, which we know have a lot of cap problems and a lot of bad contracts. Well, I wouldn't say bad contracts for the Thunder, but they need to get less expensive. So what if we took on some unwanted contracts for the Thunder, and in return, kind of give back the Clippers their swap rights for the 2027 pick? So in that situation, the Clippers get full control of their 2027 pick, and then we say, hey Sixers, give us Paul. If you give us Paul George, you get more cap flexibility with giving up Paul George. We'll give you, I don't know, say a Coro or Jalen Smith or something. And we don't take on literally $50 million, but we take on $30 million of that, of Paul George's, net. When you cancel out the contract, it's $30 million extra that you're taking out. In return, we can, and in return, give us the 2028 Clippers pick that you got. Then in that situation, the Clippers, and then we send both of those to the Clippers, right? I think that's an avenue that could happen. Obviously, this is a 1 in I don't know, 100 chance of happening. But this is just I feel a realistic avenue that Bryson Graham could take. Also a creative way, realistic way that he could take to move up to 5. So yeah, just let me know what you think on that. I don't know.
Like I said in the second segment, you laid out a great idea. The Bulls cap space can be used in so many different ways. The traditional way, go out and sign unrestricted or restricted free agents. You then can absorb players in trades. You can absorb bad contracts, stack assets. You can play the third team in a trade. You can do a lot in trades like this when you have that much cap space that the Bulls do. And I'm really excited to see what Bryson Graham does with it, because he has every tool at his disposal for how he wants to build this team. Multiple draft picks, all your own future picks, a young moldable core, cap space to be able to do a lot of different stuff. We'll continue to add assets. All that stuff is there for the Chicago Bulls at their disposal. Let's see how you're going to go out there and use it, because I am super excited about it, and I think this is going to be an offseason where we have a lot to talk about with our Chicago Bulls. All right, let's get into the last voicemail for today. This one's from Vaughn.
What's going on, my guy Haize? This is Vaughn from Indianapolis, man. Hope all is well with you. Wanted to talk about the pairings in terms of 4 and 15, what I would like to see. I'm going to go a little different direction because I know everybody's saying Caleb Wilson and Cam Carr or, things of that nature, or Caleb Wilson and Sinak. And I love both of those. Don't get me wrong. But again, if we don't trade up from 15, I'm going to go a little different direction. I'm going to go LeBaron Filan. And the reason I'm going to go that way is because the guy can shoot too. So I think there's this thing with, Giddey and who has the ball. And as you pointed out, on numerous occasions, the Bulls did some of their best work with Trey Jones and Giddey in the backcourt. Now, Filan shoots way better than Trey Jones, and he's just a better athlete. So I think there is a world where, you can move Giddey off ball. I think LeBaron can play off ball. I think he can come off screens and shoot. And another thing that I think we're forgetting about, as good as Cam Carr is, I do worry about his handle, and he does fit good with Giddey, but shot creation is a thing that I think the Bulls still lack overall. And I think in the half court, a guy like LeBaron can get his own shot. I almost think day one he would be the best shot creator on the team. So I think, that's something I think he does even better than Burries and obviously Wagler as well. So LeBaron Fallon is a guy that a lot of people are sleeping on. I don't know if he'll get past Miami, but he's my guy at 15. And I would just want to say, Caleb Wilson paired with Matas. I mean, that gets me excited, man. That truly gets me excited. So, again, I'm going with Wilson and LeBaron at 4 and 15, just to be different at 15. And I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.
LeBaron Fallon is a really interesting option for the Bulls. Like, I do think Braden Burry's, I think you're kind of underestimating Braden Burry's ability to create his own shot. But Fallon is somebody that is just like, again, what I say earlier, pit bull mentality. He has that dog mentality, so I wouldn't hate it at all. And the pairing of Wilson and LeBaron Fallon could be absolutely, it could feed families. So it's a lot, and that's what makes this draft so interesting, right? Whether the trade up, trade down, whatever thing that comes down to it, is that the options, there are real options. And so if we don't have an idiot running our front office like AK, then it gives you like faith that the person that's running it has so much at their disposal to make something happen. The Bulls have a chance to walk away with two really important talents in their rebuild in this draft. And let's go out there and get it done. But that's going to do it for today's episode, y'all. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, man. Make sure you guys are following us. But wait, before we do that, and hey, listen, I want to hear your thoughts on everything down below. Make sure, give me your thoughts on the Darryn Peterson, Morez Johnson. How do you feel about the Bulls potentially playing in, being the third team in a trade? And when do you think a coach is going to be hired? Do you think we're going to get it early next week, or do you think this can go closer to the draft? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can also follow us at Bull Central Pod on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.